There's another thing that I found interesting. And by interesting, I meant absolutely infuriating, and I was ready to light myself on fire when I saw it. It is a continuation of one of the dumbest things that exists in all of sports media. It is one of the stupidest stances that any media member has taken. And it is a thing that I still would love to understand, but I'm pretty sure it is as disingenuous as it gets. Now, in fairness, I say this stuff all the time. Media people can go one of a few ways when it comes to assessing a player, when it comes to deciding how they feel about a player, when it comes to evaluating a player. Some people do a real good job. Some people try to sell themselves as experts. Some people try to sell themselves as something else. And then there's this like weird group, a very strange group that I've never fully understood. It's the people who have hot take opinions with nothing to back them up. I will occasionally get accused of being a hot take guy, but I always say it's not a hot take if it's the right take. And quite often I feel like it's the right take. Chris Sims is an ultimate bloviator. He is an ultimate bullshitter. And we're going to dive into this because I'm glad that other national media pundits have started to kind of challenge this notion that somehow it makes sense to have Jalen Hurts 10th on the quarterback rankings. Now, we all know that Chris Sims in the past, he's omitted Hurts. He's left Hurts very low on the rankings, all that. But he released his new list. I'm going to show you his new list because it is one of the dumbest things. And he said, 2025 QB countdown is complete. Here are the top 10 rankings. The top tier especially might be the best we've ever had at one time in NFL history. And now remember, this offseason, we've seen plenty of examples of guys saying, I don't know, does Jalen Hurts make the top 3? Is he top 4? Where does Joe Burrow land? How do you rate Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? You would think that Mahomes is probably number 1. All right, let's take a look at it. So here's tier 1. Chris Sims calls this the core 4. He says this is the core 4. Lamar Jackson he has as number 1, which is interesting. Josh Allen number 2. Joe Burrow at number 3. Patrick Mahomes at number 4. Now, before I have to give myself a lobotomy to try to put myself on the same mental standing as Chris Sims must have been when he made this list, how is Patrick Mahomes number 4? I like Lamar Jackson a lot, and Lamar Jackson has won multiple MVPs. So maybe you could make the case that he's number 1. But there's the whole Super Bowl thing. There's the whole winning a ring thing or winning multiple rings. The MVPs are nice, but like Lombardi trophies are what you're going after, right? Josh Allen hasn't gotten there. Josh Allen hasn't won a Super Bowl. How's he number 2? Joe Burrow, I will continue to stand by this belief, okay? Joe Burrow's a very good quarterback. Joe Burrow is an overrated quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. He has excellent weapons around him. And it seems like each and every year, Joe Burrow's team starts off very poorly, and then somehow the national media narrative becomes,
wow, look at the great Joe Burrow. Look at what he's done to pull his team out of a hole once again and get in contention for a playoff spot.
And I always keep coming back to, you keep digging the hole. Like if you're part of the hole being dug, do we then give you credit for getting back out of that hole? Well, I mean, to some point, but you don't throw a parade for the guy. All right, so Joe Burrow's number 3. Patrick Mahomes, multiple-time Super Bowl winner, MVP, maybe the best quarterback we've ever seen, is number 4, okay? And this is where we get problematic. Surgicality, okay? Jaden Daniels, number 5, coming off a great rookie season. We'd all agree Jaden Daniels, one of the most exciting young quarterbacks in the National Football League, bar none. Number 5, Matthew Stafford, still an effective quarterback, has won a Super Bowl. Number 6, CJ Stroud, who I like a lot. I do. I really like CJ Stroud. Houston hasn't gotten it done. Now, in fairness to Stroud, multiple injuries at wideout last season. Significant issues in the playoffs. Kind of hard to win with no weapons. I could remake a list. CJ Stroud is probably in that 7 to 8 range. That's fine. Number 8 and 9, Pocket Rockets. Justin Herbert. We want to talk about overrated young quarterbacks. What has Justin Herbert done? What has he won? He's had weapons. What has Justin Herbert done? I like Justin Herbert. Good quarterback. Would be perfectly fine having Justin Herbert on my team. Would be 100% fine with it. Here's the problem. He hasn't won shit. And yet, he somehow is the number 8 quarterback in the league. Baker Mayfield at number 9. Baker Mayfield has had a resurgence in his career. He has rediscovered himself with Tampa Bay. Perfectly fine. Good on you, Baker. Number 9 quarterback in the National Football League. What? And then you get to Jalen Hurts. Number 10. Section called The Truth Hurts. Okay, so let's just go back real quick. Okay. First 4. The core 4. Makes sense. It's cute. Surgicality. Is it because they're surging? Is it because Matthew Stafford is surgical with his passing? Pocket rockets. Mayfield and Herbert both have strong arms. Okay. The truth hurts. This is just a douchebag move. We have to call it like we see it. And as you know, I will call it like I see it. This is an ultimate douchebag troll move. There's a point in time where you lose the plot. And Chris Sims has lost the plot. The only reason he has Jalen Hurts at number 10, the only reason, right, is because he wants to piss off Eagles fans. And he wants his bullshit list and his bullshit takes to surge. And guess what? It's going to work. And people are going to check out his stuff. And they're all going to hate him. And that's fine. But that's bullshit. The guy who just won the Super Bowl, the guy who just beat, arguably, the best dynasty in recent memory, that guy, the one who, once again, outdueled Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl. Now, granted, they didn't win the Super Bowl 2 years ago, but point still stands. Outdueled Patrick Mahomes twice in 2 out of 3 Super Bowl appearances in the last 3 years. You mean to tell me that guy's number 10 in the National Football League? No. And also, by the way, calling it The Truth Hurts. Here's Chris Sims explaining how and why, because he's a dumbass troll, how and why Chris Sims put Jalen Hurts at number 10 on his top 10 quarterbacks list. Again, remember, in a section called The Truth Hurts. Let's hear what Chris Sims says. By the way, I would not compare him to this, okay? I would not compare Chris Sims to looking like the model of what an Aryan was supposed to be. I would not mention that Chris Sims looks like he belongs somewhere along the Berlin Wall a few decades back, quite a few decades back. I'm not saying that he looks like somebody that would have probably been in the Stasi. I would not say that. There might have been other people who've said, I certainly would. The buttoning all the way to the top, I hate that look. And I get that like Gen Z or whatever does that kind of stuff now, but like, no, Chris, like you're older than me. Like, no, we don't button to the top button. And by the way, those are really strong. Those look like black buttons on a blue shirt, and you have the collar button down. What are we doing? Chris, what are you doing? Okay, we're gonna keep going.
Away. Yeah. But with him saying all that and all his skill set and the leadership and the mental strength and all that, is he
So, lists a bunch of things that people typically point to with Jalen Hurts being a winner. Okay.
perfect? No. There's a reason he's at number 10. And there's still flaws in his football game that need to be addressed, need to be fixed. And, you know, they win the game still with him not playing perfect. And this is...
They win... Hold on. To recap, he mentioned the leadership and then a few other things that he kind of dismissed. And then he says, they still win the games. Like, even with his issues, they still win the games. Okay. Who was it? It was Jim Morris Sr., right? Hello? You played... No, wait. That was playoffs. Herm. It was Herm Edwards. Hello? You played to win the game. So Chris Sims puts Jalen Hurts, who just won a Super Bowl, outdueled Patrick Mahomes in yet another Super Bowl, puts him at number 10 and says that despite his flaws, the Eagles still win games. Apparently winning games is not good, or it's not indicative of being a good quarterback. I didn't know that, but apparently that's true. Okay.
This is where, again, I do the dirty work to go, let me decipher here, right? But there's no quarterback in football that has more advantages on the field at the position than Jalen Hurts.
What exactly does advantages mean there, Christopher, Cristobal? What does that mean? He has more advantages because he has an exceptional running back in the backfield. Had him last year. Didn't have him 2 years ago when he outdueled Patrick Mahomes and the defense fell apart in that Super Bowl, which otherwise would have been Jalen Hurts' first Super Bowl win. So, to recap, he's got winning qualities. His team wins despite his flaws. He's a leader. He gets the job done. And yet that's number 10 behind guys that either haven't sniffed a Super Bowl or guys that put themselves in holes consistently or guys who can't perform in the playoffs and who can't outduel Patrick Mahomes en route to a Super Bowl appearance. So all of those guys who have what some might argue are empty stats, or some of them have empty stats. Now, there's more. Unfortunately, there is more. But in fairness and in an interesting turn of events, it was somebody from another network that happened to bring up what kind of absolute bullshit putting Jalen Hurts at number 10 was. And that is none other than a guy who's had some issues with the Eagles and had some issues with the Eagles this year. And that is none other than Nick Wright. And Nick Wright, oddly enough, went to bat for young Jalen Hurts. Well, let's hear what Nick Wright had to say.
1 to 10. Lamar, Josh, Joe, Patrick Mahomes, Jaden Daniels, Stafford, CJ Stroud, Herbert. The Bake Show is coming in at number 10. Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Hurts. Is this disrespectful?
Again, like they're laughing, as they should.
Yeah. And Chris Sims, let me just let you know right now, if you happen to run into Mama Hurts, she's going to give you a piece of her mind. Let me tell you,
oh, that's right. I totally forgot about that. If you remember, during the playoffs, Jalen Hurts' mom found Nick Wright, saw Nick Wright, and chastised him for comments about her son. And so Nick Wright is probably correct to point out that Mama Hurts might come after him, might come after Chris Sims. All right, let's keep going.
I'm going to pinpoint, though, one guy ahead of him. Having Jalen Hurts behind Justin Herbert it's one of those things where it tells me a lot about the evaluator.
That is correct. So what is it about Justin Herbert that makes him a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts? You would think that on merit, if we're going to try to be fair to Chris Sims, that the argument is Justin Herbert's a better pocket passer, is a more prototypical quarterback. I'm not going to play the race card here, but there's that belief, right, of a certain height, white quarterback, pocket passer that some people feel the best about, which is part of why you don't see some of those same people want to put CJ Stroud higher on a list or Jalen Hurts higher on a list, or they would openly question if Lamar Jackson even belongs in the top 10. There are people like that. I'm not going to go that far, but I will point out that, again, Justin Herbert, maybe in your mind is a gunslinger, maybe takes you back to the days of a Brett Favre, but again, hasn't won anything and does not in really any way, shape, or form belong ahead of Jalen Hurts. I'd also say that Baker Mayfield doesn't belong there either, but we'll continue.
And what they value and what they don't. And speaking of, listen, what I'm about to talk about here, I am sure I am guilty of. This is not an attack on Chris Sims, I promise.
Ooh.
But
get the flamethrower out for Mr. Sims.
It speaks to just a massive ego.
Ooh.
I just know better than,
see it, yeah.
than the games, the 5 years of evidence and careers and 150 games played between them doesn't matter as much as my eye.
I love that point. This is an ultimate I know better. Now we're gonna stop there with the Nick Wright of it all. But he's right. Nick is right. This is Chris Sims dying on this hill. This is Chris Sims hanging on to this point because he thinks he is a better evaluator of the sport than anyone else. But again, this list is nonsensical at best. Hurts has to be in your top 5, if for no other reason than what he has accomplished in the postseason. If for no other reason than he has been in 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls. And again, has outdueled Patrick Mahomes. That has to put him somewhere in the top 5. I like Jaden Daniels as a quarterback a lot. I really do. I like Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to have a really good a good sophomore season. The only issue is if the Terry McLaurin contract. But I think that he's going to have a really good sophomore season. I don't know if he's a top 5 guy. I think Burrow probably should have been number 5. You could, if you wanted to make a case that there's some combination of Mahomes Allen, Hurts in the top 3. You want to put Lamar in instead of Allen because of the MVPs. That's fine as well. I don't know how Patrick Mahomes is number 4. Like, none of this makes sense.